to add more impact to an image, to darken it down, which will give the impression that the colors have become darker and richer. One of my favorite techniques involves making a selection. It's also a great way of producing black and white pictures, toning those black and white pictures, and I'll be covering that in a separate video. But for now, back to our rather stormy Barry Island. Let's zoom in using Command 0, Control 0 to go into Fit on Screen. Right, I mentioned a selection, and we're going to make the selection by coming to the Channels panel. Now on the channels, we're going to bring our cursor over the RGB layer, and as we come to the thumbnail of the RGB, if you press and hold down Command or Control, you'll notice the way your cursor gets a little square on the back. That means it's ready to make a selection, so you simply need to click down. The selection we've made is the lightest pixels through to the midtones. Now for this to work, what we need to do is to inverse this selection. In other words, we want the darker pixels, which will again go through to the midtones. And to do that, we simply need to go to Select, Inverse. You'll now notice the selection around the outside, so we've selected the area of the sky here, the darker pixels, which again go through to the midtone area. Now this, by the way, is the first steps into using luminosity masking, and I will be covering this in future videos. But for now, back to our stormy Barry Island, because we're now going to go over to the Layers panel, and with the Layers panel, we're going to be using our selection with an adjustment layer. And my favorite way of accessing the adjustment layers is to come down to the bottom of the Layers panel, this little half black half white icon. If we click on this, it's going to be the very top one. This is the one we're going to be using, solid color. Watch what happens as soon as I click on this. I did say darker, I did say moodier, didn't I? For the moment though, I'm just going to click OK, because we're going to take a look and see what we've actually done. Remember that selection. If we come to the mask, which means we're going to click on it, I'm now going to press Alt or Option, and there it is. That selection has produced this black and white negative mask, and what we're seeing here, the areas of solid white, this is where we're going to have those black, the dark tones that we've got from the adjustment layer of solid color. So all the areas of white, the brighter areas, they're going to be the darkest parts. The dark areas in the negative looking picture here, this is where we're going to start to see through to the original image, but there's no real blacks in here. Even these areas here, you can see there's a grays through to very dark grays, so it's all starting to come together nicely. Right, let's go back to the adjustment layer. Let's take a look at this. If I double click, that brings back the solid color picker. What you can do now is you can start to bring it up. As we start to bring it up, you'll notice the way the image turns a little bit what I'd call chalky looking, which isn't particularly good, but I'm going to click OK, because this is where blend modes come into it. Now with the blend modes, by changing this from normal to multiply, now when I click down again, look at the way we can start to lift this up. As we start to lift it up, we can just bring it into that area there. That looks pretty good like that. Let's click OK. If I switch this on and off, you can see we've gone from this to that. That's darkened it down very nicely, and you can see the way as well it sort of enriches the colors, the tones that we've got in the image as well. You can scroll through the blend modes. Let's just see how we can do that. I'm just going to darken it down even further, just so we can see the way the blend modes are going to work. If you press V on the keyboard, that gives you the move tool. This only works with the move tool selected. Now press and hold down Shift on the keyboard. So hold down Shift on the keyboard. Now using the plus symbol, so use the plus symbol, you start to scroll through the blend modes. So we've gone from multiply, we're going down to color dodge, we're scrolling down to linear burn, darker, now we're into the lightened ones which don't work particularly well, and we're now into overlay. We can go down to soft lights. To scroll back up through the blend modes, try using the minus key. So when you press the minus key, we start to scroll back up. I'm going to go back up to, I've got a feeling probably my favorite was the multiply one. Let's double click again. Let's start to bring this up into this area here. If you want to introduce a little bit of color into the picture, what you can do is bring your cursor out, select a tonal range, perhaps this one over here, this darker blue color. If I click on it, there it is. You can see the area we've just selected, and we're moving down. You'll notice it's changed it to blue. That's the actual tone there. We can move it into that area, click OK to that. Now just try reducing down the opacity into that position. Brilliant stuff. Great. Now don't forget, we are using masking, so if you've got areas of your picture that you want to bring back a little bit, for example this wall here, click so you're working on the mask. So this is now working on the mask. Got black as the foreground color, which is just the color we want. I'm going to pick up the gradient tool. I've got the radial gradient. Clicking in the window here, it will not work with foreground to background. It has to be foreground to transparent, so make sure you click on foreground through to transparent. The opacity 100%, way too fierce. I'm going to press 3 on the keyboard, which is going to drop it down to 30%. We can now click down, and using the gradient tool gives a nice soft transition, so we're not going to get any giveaway telltale signs. And I can come over that, and if I want to bring it back a little bit more, you can, because don't forget we are using the 30% opacity, so I can go over it several times just to blend it in, perhaps a little bit on that area here and a little bit over here as well. You can see the way we can brighten that up, and it's just a little bit like painting in light as well. Let's bring back these colors here and here. Great stuff. There it is. Go on, give it a try. It is the sort of picture that once you've done it, put it aside, leave it for a couple of days, look at it with fresh eyes. You might want to change the blend mode, you might want to change the opacity, entirely up to you. There will be a separate video done on the black and white toning. I will put a link on this video so you can go straight to it, but I hope you've enjoyed it. Until the next time, it is happy imaging, and take care.